It may be that Putin and Kim Jong-un and some of these other people really don't see the world in the same rational terms that Obama did. And it may help for them to be more than a little bit afraid of an unpredictable president. I mean, this is what was called the madman theory under Richard Nixon.
That's right.
The madman theory is a tactic employed as part of a wider strategy by a sane leader who feigns irrationality in an attempt to convince his opponents of an irrational, excessive response to a situation. I think that what you see is Richard Nixon acting as a fulcrum, if in many ways, between the past. We look at what Donald Trump does, and he is certainly a polarizing figure. You can see that he has attempted, through his first term and second term, to utilize the madman theory approach to international relations.
You have to open up the Strait of Hormuz. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. Such a terrible mistake. Fake news will say, he accidentally said, no, there's no accidents with me.
This comes as Iran's IRGC says they have closed the Strait of Hormuz. I spoke earlier with President Trump for more than 20 minutes, and he responded to that threat from the Iranians, saying that he spoke with Iranian officials overnight and told them, you close it and you won't have a country. He went on to say, if they don't make a deal, we'll collect tolls. We may take over the Strait if we have to. The president says the U.S. could become the guardian angel of the Strait and the Middle East and take 20% of the oil.
Iran has no right to do this. It has no right to do that.
President Trump responded directly to Iran's President Masoud Pezeshkian, saying he better watch his mouth, he better shape up, or we'll take over the rest of the country.
Hola, Internet amigos! This will be a more formal presentation as I want to get my intro down. My name is Brendon Lee O'Connell. I am an Australian citizen, 55 years old and on the run in Mexico with active warrants from Australia. Don't care, Australian Federal Police, keep drinking, you bunch of drunks. Nah, some of them are all right.
This is about SAS Campbell Barracks, Leon Wind, Variant.
Okay.
Timothy, you told me that Variant does your local and national, your local police intercepts, and Israeli intelligence front.
Pop you in the car.
Yeah, I know you are, Tim. You, Tim. I'll tell you.
I own the biggest espionage case in history involving the Israeli state, and it is all documented, and you have never heard of me.
Okay. Yeah, Hezbollah area. Okay.
At last, I'm in Lebanon. I'm in Beirut. It's 24th of February. It's 10:46 a.m. on Monday, and the Malaysian immigration kindly rang the Lebanese embassy, and they said no problem, come straight in. So that was very nice. And I spent 3 months in Iran working with government analysts and left in disgust at what I was seeing and hearing. And today we will expose Iran as a globalist asset of the City of London and European Union. I will prove it with open source material none of your local internet hoes will touch because the money is too good. The true Iranian nationalists, there are some, is former President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, and they banned him from running for good reason. He is a hero of mine, not perfect, but we're going to talk about it. You will see Zarif, the foreign minister, hanging with every globalist hoe under the sun, with his buddy, former President Rouhani, and I'll put it all, what is happening in the Straits of Hormuz in context, and you will understand the Trump administration tactics at this time, which are actually going very well. No matter what they tell you, it's working out well. Remember, the enemy is not Iran, the enemy is China and the EU, and it's all their oil and gas, and they're getting very edgy. It's about leverage. Once we understand that, you'll understand what's going on. You will see and hear all of these people talking about the Kissinger multipolar world order, from the Ayatollah to Putin to Xi to Klaus Schwab, and then you will ask, why isn't the internet talking about self-evident open source information? That is a very good question. No, hello, Alex. The question is not what is Trump and Putin doing. The question is, what is Trump and Netanyahu doing? Israel and Iran both set to join Russia-led free trade zone. What? Israel and Iran, the sworn enemies? After 2 rounds of negotiations, Jerusalem close to agreement with Eurasian Economic Union. Separately, Tehran also set to sign deal in the near future by a little online journal called The Times of Israel. Wow! 2019. Someone tell Alex Craner there might be something to investigate here. But the money's too good, isn't it, Alex? Oh, look, Alex. It's called the Multipolar World Order. It's called the Eurasian Trading Bloc. Look, Alex. Hello. All run by the EU, Ursula, Klaus Schwab, Gerhard Schröder, all your friends of Vladimir Putin. Yeah, Rothschild, all the usual suspects. Hello. Hello, David and Evelyn de Rothschild with Gerhard Schröder, Putin's best friend. Hello, Alex. All right, that's enough sarcasm. Let's get back to the video. So let us attend, enjoy, and we'll have chapters. You'll like it.
In cyber is a real domain of power. In cyber is a real domain of power.
JD, how is the India, Middle East, Europe corridor coming along? The IMEC, they got that pipeline up to Haifa yet? Bypassing the Strait of Hormuz?
It's all moving along, boss. As everyone focuses on the drama at the Straits, we're building huge bases in Israel and the Gaza Strip near Haifa. At the end of it, we will control the Straits completely, with an intact and aggressive Iran keeping everyone on their toes. And we have a scared and insecure Israel begging us to keep them safe, and we control more EU energy transport routes. China and Russia now ejected from the region.
That's great, JD. And by limiting the damage to Iran, we can invest there and keep the EU out. Our Pax Silica program will control all their critical infrastructure. We're not making the same Paul Bremer and Kissinger and Associates humanitarian mess like Iraq. Okay, keep going, and thank O'Connell for the foreign policy tips. Maybe we need to send him a 32-gigabyte video RAM NVIDIA 5090 as payment.
Hello, Internet amigos. Well, it's morning here in Querétaro. Now, 24 hours after I made the video initial start, of course, my YouTube channel has been completely deleted, gone, never to return. And I just want to quickly talk about the doom and gloom with the MOU, Memorandum of Understanding. Again.
And if you're someone in Iran who's a member of the Iranian diaspora community, I really want to know if you still think Donald Trump's a hero. And if you are someone who's not really partial to Reza Pahlavi, do you think that the Iranian regime has, to use Rahm Emanuel's words, who's basically a major figure in the US, the Iranians have utterly schooled the US?
There's a perfect storm of reasons for this war. The first one that springs to mind to me always is, why hasn't something happened in America about the Jeffrey Epstein victims, and who's hiding from this? I mean, this puts up a massive cloud around the world in relation to distracting people's attention from what did happen with Jeffrey Epstein. And I think we're also seeing lots of influences, China emerging, America reacting to China's emergence and being emboldened by the sort of first success they had in Venezuela by just going in there and kidnapping the president and doing what they did there. So, yeah, I think we're sort of seeing a new form of imperialism and panicking by the USA that their days are numbered in relation to their world dominance, and this is a reaction to that. They wanted to show the world that if they want to flex their muscles and tell people what to do, they can.
You know what, JD? People are dummies, or the Trump Derangement Syndrome is at epic levels. Iran will get some infrastructure help from us, and guess what? Industrial controller chips will be filling all their critical infrastructure. We get to trade with a valuable young demographic in the Iranian population, and the motivation to build that new IMEC pipeline and infrastructure will be at record levels. The oil and gas spills out in Haifa, where we have giant bases going in. We control EU energy access, and if China gets cocky, we cut them off at the Straits. It's genius, but what do I know, Jay?
As President Trump and J.D. Vance in AI just mentioned, it's all about IMEC, India, Middle East, European corridor, the pipeline going up from near Oman, up through Saudi, all the way up to Haifa port. And the US will have the bases. The Israelis are screaming. That should be a great sign. You should be happy. The Israelis are just screaming. What? They need Iran strong. Remember that picture I put up where there would be the Pentagon getting everybody together, Sunni Islam, the Arabs, and Bibi sitting there like this. And there's Mahmoud Ahmadinejad in Iran, still strong, still shaking a fist. And of course, their country will be backdoored with Pax Silica like everybody else. The EU is in the bag. This was always about pressure on the EU energy supply, and they still will be in complete control of it. That's the United States. And of course, the US can always transfer energy backwards and forwards through pipelines, build extra pipelines, and tell Iran to go to hell if they want to get uppity. It's all about control, the great game. I'm not agreeing with it per se. I'm just telling you that is what is going on while they all doom and gloom and say it's the end of America. China's rising, and it's just so absurd. It's so absolutely absurd that this is the level of analysis we have. The US is stronger than ever. It's building bases within Israel. It's taken over Israel. Bibi's in the bag like a little bitch like this. He's doing exactly what he's told. He's being told to attack Lebanon. This is a Department of Defense, Jason Society, Heritage Foundation operation. The old Skull and Bones network. That's who's running the show. So, ladies and gentlemen, China are sitting there, bowing their heads, going, yes, we will play big bad wolf to justify trillions in taxpayer subsidies for giant corporations that don't pay tax. And the EU is nodding their head, and now they have agreed to Pax Silica. There you go. Now you understand. It doesn't matter what you agree or don't agree with, but stop saying, the US is finished, the US is going down, oh, we're weeping. It's beautiful. Mwah. Now, back to America. Let's explain Pax Silica and 70 years of subversion. How did Hayden Clapper and Brendon allow in all these Israeli companies? How did they privatize everything and then charge 10 times as much to their friends from the NSA who are now in private business? Who did 9/11? Who is Chris Boleyn? Justice for 2008, Wall Street, total collapse, and then they all paid themselves bonuses. When do rich, gigantic transnational corporations pay tax? And when does the US use its military instead of killing little brown people overseas? When does it start rounding up and executing all the crackers in Armani, the real CIA, the crackers in Armani on Wall Street, laundering the drug money, running all these scams, making lives of people miserable, raising the price of eggs? When do they pay their fair share? Apparently, these people are either so delusional or the military in a trust the plan scenario is setting them up for mass roundups and executions when the public go off and serving and retired military have had enough. Whatever happens, the bottom line is there's your 6 things. Pentagon audit, who did 9/11, justice for Wall Street and the crash, all the drug money laundering, all the tax havens have got to go. And of course, how did a little tiny state for the City of London walk in and totally subvert all US critical infrastructure? And we mean all. Well, people go on about Section 244 of Pax Silica, when in fact they're in everything, including all the databases, the FBI, the DEA, the CIA, Amazon Web Services, Microsoft Azure. They do everything.
Ladies and gentlemen, your attention, please. Yes, you caught me out, America. But I presume you value your pensions, your careers, and your pride. So, let's just take over the world together. We will call it Pax Silica. What say you? Yes, and I still have the kill switch.
And cyber is a real domain of power. And cyber is a real domain of power.
That has to be explained. Is that under control? Probably. Probably it's under control. But they're so embarrassed that they can't admit it, and that's a problem. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's get back to the video. Well, ladies and gents, we're going to start with something a little unusual. Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson. We're going to understand exactly what they are. I mentioned it previously in the last video. She's one step away from Lord Jacob Rothschild. She was talking with Russell Brand, also one step away from Lord Jacob Rothschild. Tucker Carlson's relationship with Qatar. Do you see where this is going? You're going to see it all unfold. Let's quickly go look at Candace Owens and Tucker and Candace talking with Russell Brand about the Sabbatean Frankists.
Again, I cannot state enough that what we are referring to is a religion that is known as Frankism, which became the Thelema religion. It is the preferred religion of the elites, okay? They believe and they worship the devil. They believe that through deception, they will inherit the earth. Okay, in that region in Ukraine, which then began to be known as the Bohemian region, by the way, okay, where Jacob Frank lived, where Jacob Frank's castle was thereafter, and then you wonder why Bohemian Grove is a thing in LA.
Oh, that's great. 500-year-old history. Beautiful. That's important history. She mentioned it once. But apparently all you have to do today is go boo the Jews. Your credibility's there. You pay for all your subscribers, pay for all your views, and fly around in private jets. And voila, you're a political dissident. See mine? Political dissident up there? Well, that's a real political dissident, because why you haven't heard of me. And
Have you read the Old Testament? Have you read the book of Joshua? Slay them all. The book of Samuel. Slay them all. Spare them not. You understand? They quote from it. The rabbis quote. You're not saying it. The rabbis quote from it. The rabbis quote from it. Tell the IDF troops, kill them all, men, women, and children. It's in the book, the Torah. Tell them.
The Torah. Yeah.
I
agree with you, man.
I spent 3 years in jail on this. 3 fucking years.
A Perth man who posted an anti-Jewish video on the internet has been jailed for 3 years. The victim of the racist rant says the sentence isn't long enough.
This is the racist video that shocked Perth's Jewish community.
Your days are numbered, and we're going to rescue as many of your victim cult members as we can.
2 young Jewish men bullied relentlessly the 15-minute rant posted on YouTube.
You are racist, homicidal maniacs.
Today, the man responsible, Brendon O'Connell, was jailed for 3 years after being convicted of race hate crimes. It's believed he's the first person in the state to be found guilty under new racial vilification laws. The judge described him as a bully who has an irrational hatred of Jews. One of the men victimised in the video says O'Connell has made his life hell and that the sentence is inadequate.
Wish it was going for longer. I've been harassed continuously for the last 18 months.
But the jail term's been welcomed by the Jewish community.
I think it was a victory for decency and against bigotry and prejudice. On future occasions, it could be Muslims or Asians or any group, and so we should all be happy about this result.
There was extra security in the courtroom for the sentencing. After being told he would serve 3 years in jail, O'Connell yelled out, "That's a holiday camp compared to Gaza."
despite all the stuff I've personally achieved and personally been through. But there's Candace and Tucker and people like Russell Brand. Let's quickly go into them, and then you'll understand Zarif. You will understand Rouhani of Iran. You will understand Pezeshkian, the new president, being advised by Zarif and his friends. You'll understand all these people attend Cambridge and Oxford and Harvard and Yale and private schools in America, private schools La Rosa in Switzerland, which is King Jong-un, for God's sake. They're all in these private schools. Putin's oligarchs are over there in London and their bank accounts are there. The whole thing's a damn fraud. They're fighting, but it's a fraud because it's all coming apart, the multipolar world order. Remember this map. Remember this one, right? Didn't get it after World War II. Hitler didn't do what he's told, so this is the new one. Now you've got Xi and Bibi and Putin and, the EU there. Ursula. Okay, well, that's come apart, and we're going to talk about that. But let's go to Candace first. Let's remember Peter Wright, spy catcher. Remember what he said about Rothschild and all his friends. Victor Rothschild, that's Lord Jacob's daddy.
Good evening. The headlines at 6 o'clock. Mrs. Thatcher has declined for the moment to clear the name of Lord Rothschild, to say that he was not a Soviet spy, the so-called fifth man.
With her blunt statement, Mrs. Thatcher, or those who briefed her, pointedly referred to only a few others. In fact, MI5 files listed 35 eminent persons as Soviet agents. These people worked in the highest levels of British government, industry, academia, and so on. Many were interviewed by me, and a number of them either committed suicide or died mysteriously shortly after they became aware of my interest in them. In other words, there was good reason to suspect that the establishment was rotten to the core with Russian agents. I know this because of my investigations into the rings of influence spreading out from the Ring of Five. I was stopped in this because my investigations were embarrassing. Wright's secret testimony was not limited to generalized complaints about the failure to tackle Soviet penetration at all levels of British society and government. He also submitted a separate and even more closely guarded annex revealing the identities of the 35 eminent persons who were suspected of being agents for Moscow, and giving a telling insight into the sorry history of further proven cases of treachery.
Brendon, are you trying to say a millionaire alt media star, a plucky rebel against the deep state, with 20 permanent staff, first-class flights all around the world, an innocent damsel married to George Farmer, the closet homosexual?
So here and here. Okay, go ahead and take a little screenshot, take a pause.
Whose father was best friends with Lord Jacob Rothschild himself for decades? You're trying to say that might explain my love affair with Putin and forgetting to tell my audience who did 9/11, which might implicate the network I am paid to protect? Well, you're right, but my audience is pretty dumb.
In fact, MI5 files listed 35 eminent persons as Soviet agents. These people worked in the highest levels of British government, industry, academia, and so on.
Hey, remember Rahim J. Kassam, one of the founders of Breitbart News? Quote, I know more about this world than I care to. Mercer tried to get me to tell Bannon to shut up about populist nationalism. That's Rebecca Mercer. That's one of the funders of Tucker Carlson Network. Rebecca Mercer, Cambridge Analytica, SCL Group, NATO, hello, now do you see it? That's why good old Tucker's down there in Qatar, MI6, City of London, Qatar.
I'm not Muslim, I'm not for Sharia law. On the other hand, compared to what? Compared to Baltimore? You know, shut up.
Because I travel outside the Western world, the white world, let's be honest, the white world.
Right.
I travel a lot in the Middle East. It's amazing. It's amazing.
Whatever it's worth, a pretty fervent Christian, and I feel completely comfortable here in the seat of Islam.
But you go to the Gulf, and it's incredible to be in a place that has pride in itself, that believes
Correct.
in its religion and culture, that thinks we're onto something. This is great. Look at what we're doing. We're really proud of this. Those people are happy. They're welcoming of others. They're tolerant of diversity.
With his apartment building, not apartment building he's got over there. Quote, I was the guy who hired Milo for Breitbart News Network. Farmer has sexually assaulted me. Candace blocked me for calling her sham marriage out. I know this from all angles. Now you know the intent of attacking Trump. It doesn't matter what's true or not. The intent is to use the truth and or lies to attack the Trump administration for taking down the City of London network.
You know what, JD? People are dummies, or the Trump Derangement Syndrome is at epic levels. Iran will get some infrastructure help from us, and guess what? Industrial controller chips will be filling all their critical infrastructure. We get to trade with a valuable young demographic in the Iranian population, and the motivation to build that new IMEC pipeline and infrastructure will be at record levels. The oil and gas spills out in Haifa, where we have giant bases going in. We control EU energy access, and if China gets cocky, we cut them off at the Straits. It's genius, but what do I know, Jay?
Oh, those are good beans. It's got so much pork jowls in there and the brown sugar. These are good beans.
And that is what Tucker, Cambridge Analytica, Heinz Kissinger / Rupert Murdoch, that is what it's all about. They lost control of their asset and they're very upset. Desperately. And that's the network. King Charles comes this year. Please stop destroying us. The London central banker Mark Carney is running around telling everyone we better get together against Trump or we're going to be on the menu.
Argue the middle powers must act together because if we're not at the table, we're on the menu.
Him and Starmer running backwards and forwards to China. All of this desperation just before the attacks on globalist Iran. And that's what this video is about. You will put together the dots. Okay? That is the background. That's all in previous videos. You'll find them very easily. So once we get that big picture, we can start to understand what is going on at the Straits of Hormuz. It's not about Iran. They're already in the bag. They're owned and operated by the Trump administration from day one. They're little whores and they do exactly what they're told. This is a war against the EU, UK under Starmer, which is really the City of London, and China. This is power and leverage. And everyone goes, oh no, the ships can't get through. Oh, look at all that. This is the continuing leverage. And then you see Candace and Tucker and who they work for. These are the leverage fights. No one's can go out and kill each other because they've got too much dirt on each other. So they use us, either directly by paying people, or they nudge and wink O'Connell, or they remove his internet connection when he says something bad, like don't talk about 9/11, please. Stuff like that. This is how the Adjustment Bureau works. So when we understand Candace and Tucker, let's talk about them right now. As we all know, Candace is 1 degree of separation, 1 degree between Candace Owens and Lord Jacob Rothschild via her gay husband and alleged sperm donor, George Farmer, who's surprisingly best friends with Andrew Tate. And I've just got to add in here, as we see Andrew Tate and his yeshiva lawyer and Kabbalah wizard there, when you actually look at the Clan MacLeod, see his lawyer there on the right of good old Roger Stone? Well, he went to a yeshiva university, Cardozo School of Law. Okay, it's a yeshiva university in New York. Yes, he's from the Clan MacLeod, and he attends a yeshiva university. Come on, you must get it. You've got to get it. Okay, back to the video. And they know Russell Brand very well. How interesting. And when you go down, Lord Jacob they're both members of the Council of Christians and Jews, and Lord Michael Farmer, and they've known each other for decades. And Candace Owens' father-in-law is literally besties with now defunct Lord Jacob. Do you mean to say the entire internet has missed this? Please let me know if others are talking about it, because I know Russell Brand has been noted for his closeness to the Rothschilds. And again, we have to emphasize the point. You've got Russell Brand. Hi, I'm Russell. Jemima is my girlfriend. I'm a Marxist and campaign against the banks, but I don't mention Jacob's family. When you look there, look, hi, I'm Alice Jacob. Hi, I'm Alice. Jacob is my grandfather. I'm married to Zach. Now that's Zach Goldsmith. That's Jimmy Goldsmith's son. That's Jemima Goldsmith. All right, and you see good old Jimmy Goldsmith here with Lord Jacob and our Australian media tycoon, Kerry Packer. His son James Packer is best friends with Netanyahu. Look at this mix. They're all 1 degree of separation. And who funded Zach? Who funded Zach to become a member of Parliament? None other than Lord Farmer, George Farmer's dad. You can't make this up. Why aren't people talking about this? I presume. Please let me know. Please put comments, email me. Who's talking about this, please? I need to know. Let's get back to the video. So you've got Lord Michael Farmer, Mr. Copper, again, Red Kite Metals head specialising in China for the City of London Canary Wharf. Oh, hello. And she's right in there going, boo the Jews, boo the Jews. But I'm not going to give you too much detail. Just look at me. We love Iran. Russia's wonderful. That's all the old multipolar world order, great grand chessboard that they're fighting. Do you understand? The Honourable George Farmer, Candace Owens, and that goes into Tucker Carlson Network. Backed by who? Rebecca Mercer, Cambridge Analytica, NATO, SCL Group, Military Psychological Warfare. There you're seeing Cambridge Analytica were tied in with City of London. And back to that stuff about George Farmer being gay. Rahim J. Kassam, one of the founders of Breitbart, taking Rebecca Mercer's money, and he said that Rebecca Mercer and the Mercers told him to tell Steve Bannon to shut up about populist nationalism. And there you go. And the Mercers are there they're funding Tucker Carlson. You have your answer what Tucker Carlson is. You have your answer what Candace Owens is. They are literally working against the Trump administration. And no matter what you think of Trump or the Trump administration, she and he are pure City of London. Tucker and Candace are pure City of London. And guess who killed Charlie Kirk? Why don't we have a look at the City of London networks, because they are the ones who are benefiting from the Kirk assassination. Let's get back to the video. And good old Tucker here, Donald Trump Jr., was on the board when it was originally set up, and all his 27 staff, just a small operation, 27 staff, 27. And then he said, Tucker said, well, I bought them all out. Did you buy out Rebecca Mercer, did you, Tucker? You think Tucker's just one guy operating alone? It's pure City of London. And we'll talk about the timeline of all this material. And remember Russell Brand. As previously mentioned, there he is with Jemima Goldsmith. That was his girlfriend for many years. And of course, let's not forget the cocaine-addicted half-wit Russell Brand, who's found Jesus, just like Roger Stone, the sexual deviant group sex specialist. He too found Jesus. Jemima Goldsmith is the daughter of Jimmy Goldsmith, best friends with Lord Jacob. There's Jemima with her husband, Imran Khan of Pakistan. There's Lady Di, her half-sister. Right? She is the daughter of Jimmy Goldsmith. different mother. Now, that's one step away, always in red and black. That's one step away from Lord Jacob himself. It's the same network as Lord Farmer and George Farmer, who Candace Owens is in. Oh, and while we're at it, there he is doing his little Illuminati stuff. Can anyone assist a fellow traveller? These people are so, once you know what to look for, it's just plain in your face. Candace Owens said herself, I'm a Mason, for God's sake. She's a Scottish Rite Mason, the worst kind. And before we get back to the goldsmiths, there's Bram with his good friend Noah Harari. And when people went after good old Whitney, she was very dismissive about it all. Same as when good old what's-his-face had on Bibi after interviewing her. But she said, well, I'm not responsible. Well, that's wrong answer. Wrong answer, Whitney. You should have been horrified, but you weren't because Daddy's a CIA case officer. We get it. And there's Jemima, Dad, and we did it in the previous video. I went into it with Lord Jacob. They're all part of the same network. Jimmy Goldsmith, that's Kerry Packer, that's James Packer's father. James Packer's in with Benjamin Netanyahu and was brought to account for bribing the Prime Minister. They're best friends with the Netanyahu, Sarah Netanyahu, and of course, he's best friends with West Australian boy Kerry Stokes. And I was invited out with all of those people. And if it's very confusing because if I was exposing the Jesuit conspiracy, I'm surprised I'm still alive. And I was invited out with Minister Joe Francis and Colonel James McMahon, the SAS retired. I've talked about it 1,000 times. So look at that little network right there. Link it all with Candace Owens. She's interviewing Russell Brand on the Sabbatean Frankists. This is to establish credibility, nothing more. Nothing more. But then they won't tell you who did 9/11. Imagine I'm going to get those Jews. I've got to tell them what up. I'm going to talk Professor Tony Martin. Jews run the slave trade. But I don't talk about it. I just move right along. Okay, get on Michael Hoffman, Reverend Ted Pike, anyone, to an expert? No. We're going to go round and round talking about Charlie Kirk. I thought, she did Bride of Charlie and it was quite good. And she linked in Kay Griggs and I was thinking, man, is she woken up? Oh, wow, Candace Owens might turn out good. That lasted 5 minutes. No, that's not happening. She's forgotten. Kay Griggs never mentioned again. Her whole modus operandi is to establish credibility by going, look, I'm with you, boo the Jews. Okay, throw that away. Let's now talk about the colour of Charlie Kirk's underpants. And that's her game. And a lot of people have gone off her now. She's lost our Green Beret boy. He's gone. He's lost Ian Carroll. He's gone. She's slowly getting worn down because it's all going to come out. Little Candace and Tucker and the gang. Before going into that, just briefly, I do want to touch on this timeline from January 2026 to the present. It's very important to understand. First, in January, you have Davos, and you have literally Mark Carney, the London central banker, part-time Canadian Prime Minister, telling everyone, we the middle powers must get together. We have to get together to get a seat at the table or we are on the menu, meaning against the Trump administration. It's not an act, it's a real terrifying fight for them. They don't know what to do. They're kind of sitting there like deers in the headlights. It's over for them, but this is the grieving stage, finally into the acceptance stage, that the multipolar world order is not coming back and there will be a new unipolar order and it won't be unipolar US order run by Chatham House and the Royal Institute for International Affairs and Council on Foreign Relations, Trilateral Commission, Carnegie Endowment, Atlantic Council, Rockefeller Foundation. No. This is a very different beast. That doesn't mean it's nice. It's a nice, big, fat grizzly bear. How cuddly it is going to depend on the American people and not gifts from them, because clearly they're committed to continuing the automation of systems, and that is the huge danger we face, the automation of systems. Not just kill bots. I'm talking about automated courts where there's going to be no human being in the CIA analysts. There'll be no analysts. It'll all be AI. And if we don't have these people opening the doors for us and people who have children too, if you can remove humans from that system, a tiny group of people can control everything. And that's a nightmare. I don't care how pious they are. If they ain't God or Jesus, then I'm sorry, or a benevolent king, it's not happening. We can't have it. So that's why it's so dangerous at this time. But we should cheerlead where good things are happening. It's like reward the child. Well done. No, bad child, bad Trump administration. Instead of this mindless slurping on privates, which is disgusting me. That's you, Susan Kokinder, and Tom Luongo, and the rest of you. You need to sit back and have a factual account because the money's in cheering on. People want good news. And two, the Heritage Foundation and a bunch of billionaires are going to pay you to keep doing that via your social media accounts. So in January, you have Davos. We either get a seat at the table or we are on the menu. London Central Banker Mark Carney. Same time, him and Starmer make separate trips to China, January 2026. You know why they were running around like mad? Because they knew what was going to happen to Iran on February the 28th. They knew it was going to happen. They knew the US had told them, you can either do what we say or we're taking out Iran. And they were going, we dares you. No, you won't. And they went, oh, really? Oh, really? You got to understand, Bibi was helping Iran like he was running Hamas and running Hezbollah. That's why they know where everyone is, because they run the damn place. Half of these Persian Iranians are Persian Jews. That's why, just like they're always going about the Wahhabis and all the royals of the Saudi are secretly Jews. Well, if you're going to say that, it's amazing that you won't look at Iran, the home of Isfahan in particular, full of the Jewish merchant class like Zarif. I hope that makes some kind of sense. So remember, they know it's coming, and King Charles visits. He's saying, can I please have a seat at the table? He hates Rothschilds, but they all do as they're told. They're all this little mixed fighting inbreds. All of them are inbreds, literally inbreds. When they look at their DNA, they are literally inbreds. And they're desperately trying to, marry off into the commoners to get better DNA. But King Charles is over. Can we have a place in the Middle East? We'll work with France. Now you see Macron under the thumb. And they're building a supercarrier. And they've told France, you are going to spend money and help us in the Mediterranean. And over there in Suez and other areas. And the Brits are going to try and find some money somehow if they don't collapse first. And now they're all fighting. And the Italians under Moroni, she's upset because she wants a place as well. And Trump's saying, well, show us the shekels. Everyone wants something for free. It's not happening anymore. But they want to run the Middle East. So everyone's bargaining. Then boom, Iran. This is the grand chessboard. This is a power move. And everyone is under control and doing what they're told. All of them. And this is the leverage garbage you see with the likes of a Candace Owens and a Tucker Carlson. Running backwards and forwards, trying to get leverage. If we don't get together, get a seat at the table, we will be on the menu. And they know it's over. The old system is over. They're just trying to get a better deal. Please, we need some leverage. Next meeting, Candace, go to Russia. Say how wonderful Putin is. Let's get some data analytics in there to get some leverage. It's not working. It's not happening. They are in the acceptance phase of their death. And I guarantee you Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens might have sad ends, physically sad ends. But you've seen, I have proven to you there is 1 degree of separation between Candace Owens and Lord Jacob Rothschild's network himself. And what more do I have to say? That's desperation. And they're hoping you don't look. And they're paying everyone to shut up. That's what they're doing. So you see from January 2026 on, you see the theme happening. And you see the aggressive going after, J.D. Vance going after Europe. Trump previously, the year before, going after the EU, saying you're invented to screw us. This is not an act. These are good things that are happening. And it's going to be a very positive outcome. Economically, I don't know about your soul, America, but economically you will come out on top. But the questions are all those other questions. Pentagon audit, COVID, vax, 9/11. Those are the big questions. The great thing is as the power is centered into the United States, you can stop blaming the Jews. The Jews made you watch porn. Now you're going to be in control, America. Literal Goy control. And are you all going to get in there and get involved in Congress and attend weekly meetings? Or are you just going to vote every 4 years or not vote at all and maybe sell coffee mugs on online, That's the point. So you see that little timeline coming forward. You see the destruction of that map, the multipolar world order. And we'll go into showing the Ayatollah. They're all I was there in Iran and they said, we will be handling the stands. Immediately I went, it's the Belt and Road. You're handling the stands for the Belt and Road. You are in bed with Europe. That's when I left. So I have to leave now, besides the drug taking of the lawyer and all the rest of it. So let's now go back to the article that was written by the AI with my inputs. And let's talk about all of these people attending all the private schools and the difference between them and Ahmadinejad. Okay, as the rain comes down, ladies and gentlemen, in Querétaro, Mexico, this is the rainy season for Querétaro. June. We're in June 2026. The date, of course, is the 20th of June 2026, and the rain is pouring down. This is the rainy season. This is the winter, ironically, for 6,000 feet of elevation. Anywho, we're going to read this, The Transnational Web of Simplified Control, Theoretical Framework and the Euro-American Academic Pipeline. What a stupid Gemini AI. Let's read from this, and I will, of course, add in a lot of footage, funny AI clips and other stuff to make this interesting, because we are currently at 17 minutes. This will be at least an hour, but hang in there. I shall read as fast as I can. This is about where they're all educated, who they're hanging out with, and I think comparing it with Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, Zarif, and certain other people. But let's start with this image. This image is very important. This is who's currently President Masoud Pezeshkian. He's the current president. He's advised by Javed Zarif, Vice President of Strategic Affairs. He's completely educated in the West, complete globalist, Chatham House boy. And once you understand where he was educated in San Francisco, how he's best friends with John Kerry, and I believe the rumor that John Kerry's son was Zarif's son was best man at John Kerry's son's wedding, you can begin to see this network, which is right in front of your face. They fund Hamas, they fund Hezbollah, they've been pushing the Iranian regime, they've been supplying the Iranian regime with this nuclear dust so they can threaten Saudi and the UAE, and they can threaten the Arab Sunni world to form a peace deal with Israel. And this is the great game. Remember, King Faisal 75 assassinated. He goes after Rockefeller and Kissinger, saying, oi, you got a bunch of commies moving into Israel, a bunch of Bolsheviks. Hello. Then the Shah goes after Jewish power. He's dispensed with. Then you've got the hardcore Wahhabist coke dealers pretending to be pious Muslims. And you've got what? A theocracy in Iran. And this is the great dialectical game for this map, which is being turned into this map as we speak. And now understand those two maps. If you understand those two maps, you will understand everything. Okay, let's start reading. Listen closely and you will understand. Go and do the dishes, clean the toilet, drive your car. Listen closely, and I will include a lot of footage as well. This is going to expose, in plain view, open source information. It's right in front of our faces. But again, if I control narratives and I can control what can be pushed by the algorithm, what can be suppressed, what can be encased in a bubble, what links you can find, what links you can't find, then it doesn't matter. I can have stuff in front of people and voila, you only hear from Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens and Fox News running the dialectic. The structural integration of the Iranian state elite into Western institutional networks is not a post-revolutionary anomaly, but a foundational feature of the Islamic Republic's managerial class. By applying the analytical frameworks of Professor Carol Quigley and Professor Anthony Sutton, the ostensible ideological hostility between Tehran and Western capitals is demystified. Instead, it is revealed as a highly coordinated, dialectical relationship managed by a class of technocrats and clerics, educated, housed and integrated within a Euro-American financial and intellectual centers. This class acts as localized managers of a sovereign territory, operating within a globalized framework of simplified control networks orchestrated by organizations such as World Economic Forum, the Council on Foreign Relations, and the Royal Institute for International Affairs, Chatham House. The academic and political trajectory of former President Hassan Rouhani. Here's what's in your face. I've been talking about it since 2017. Exemplifies, just remember, Peter Wright, half the British establishment, this is, the MI5 spy catcher, counterintelligence, writes a book saying half the British establishment are working with the Soviets. Victor Rothschild leading. Understand that nothing has changed and they are everywhere. The academic and political trajectory of former President Hassan Rouhani exemplifies the institutional provenance characteristic of this transnational managerial class. Born Hassan Feridun, he changed his family name to Rouhani, meaning cleric in Persian. They all like to change their names, as a security measure during his pre-revolutionary career. Unusually for a clerical figure of his generation, Rouhani pursued a secular legal education at Tehran University before spending extended periods in the United Kingdom. During the 1990s, Rouhani was awarded a Master of Philosophy and subsequently a PhD in Constitutional Law from Glasgow Caledonian University in Scotland. His doctoral thesis, entitled The Flexibility of Sharia or Islamic Law with Reference to the Iranian Experience, served as the intellectual blueprint for his political career. It provided the jurisprudence justification for the pragmatic, which means his legal training, for the pragmatic, highly transactional compromises required to integrate the Iranian state into global capital markets under the guise of moderation and hope. This was the multipolar world order. And we'll get to that. Rouhani's integration into British political networks was facilitated by his close relationship with high-ranking interlocutors, including former British Foreign Secretary Jack Straw, who faced Rouhani across the negotiating table during the early nuclear talks from 2003 to 2005, repeatedly characterised Rouhani as a highly professional, realistic and engaging diplomat one can do business with. This relationship was bolstered by the parallel activities of Lord Michael Levi, British Prime Minister Tony Blair's personal envoy to the Middle East and chief Labour Party fundraiser. Levi operated as an unofficial back channel, bridging the gap between pro-Israel political networks in the West and moderate factions in the Middle East. This dynamic facilitated a highly managed diplomatic choreography that bypassed the traditionally pro-Arab British Foreign Office. And there is the ploy. The old British establishment, pro-Arab, is replaced with what? The City of London assets, the Victor Rothschild assets. Similarly, former Foreign Minister Mohammad Jarraf Zarif, who was signing the paperwork for my asylum before I left, possessed an educational and diplomatic pedigree deeply rooted in the United States. So deep, he may as well be an American. His kids are American citizens, by the way. They were born in the US. Zarif arrived in San Francisco at the age of 17. Oh, party town, hey? Bit of experimentation, a few flippers? Yeah, I bet. At the age of 17, attending the Drew College Preparatory School. This is an elite private school in San Francisco. He subsequently, you can't find out the owners, it's all 501c, all sorts of stuff. He subsequently earned both a Bachelor of Arts and a Master of Arts in International Relations from San Francisco State University, followed by a second Master of Arts and a PhD in International Studies and Law from the Joseph Corbett School of International Studies at the University of Denver. I bet he never even wrote it. I bet it was written for him while he partied, took drugs and experimented with his sexuality. Zarif's doctoral committee was led by prominent American academics, including Tom Rowe, R-O-W-E, and Ved Nanda, N-A-N-D-A, who marked him as an elite asset destined for a central role in his country's administration. Due to his linguistic fluency and deep cultural integration into the United States, Zarif was appointed to the Iranian delegation to the United Nations in 1982. Due to his linguistic fluency and deep cultural integration into the United States, Zarif was appointed to the Iranian delegation to the United Nations in 1982, mere years after the 1979 revolution. So he's just part of the delegation hanging out in his early 20s. During his tenure as Iran's UN representative from 2002 to 2007, so he's the UN rep, there's your first clue, Zarif maintained private back channels with senior American politicians, including then Senators Joseph Biden and Chuck Hagel. He was the primary architect of the 2003 Grand Bargain, a comprehensive plan to resolve outstanding issues between the US and Iran. They are all being integrated into the Kissinger multipolar world order. Zarif's multi-decade integration into globalist think tanks culminated in his sharing the prestigious Chatham House Prize in 2016. Maybe Tim Pool was there to help him with it. With US Secretary of State John Kerry following the signing of the JCPOA, which the Trump administration threw out. This close-knit elite personal rapport, famous on first-name terms as John and Javed, was built upon decades of high-level interaction. Despite persistent alternative media claims that Zarif's son, Mehdi Zarif, served as the best man at Vanessa Carey's 2009 wedding to Iranian-American Brian Valad Nahed, N-A-H-E-D, both the US State Department and the Iranian Foreign Ministry have repeatedly dismissed the rumor as a fabricated narrative. Now, it'll be 100% true, guaranteed. Regardless of the wedding's best man rumor, the deeper, non-fabricated structural alignment between these actors is undeniable. Zarif and Kerry's mutual diplomatic choreography had been fostered years prior, including documented interactions such as the attendance at a private dinner party hosted by George Soros at his Manhattan penthouse, as one does when you're a radical Iranian lunatic. You're always hanging with George Soros, of course you are. Even after his formal diplomatic tenure, Zarif continued to act as a principal interlocutor at the World Economic Forum in Davos, presenting a reformed, global-friendly face of the Islamic Republic to international financial elites. The theoretical framework underpinning this globalist-oriented diplomacy was constructed by academic intermediaries like Mahmoud Sariol Ghalam, a professor of international relations at Shahid, which means martyr, Shahid Beheshti University in Tehran. Sara Gholam, who received his PhD from the University of Southern California, of course he did, and completed a postdoctorate at Ohio State University, of course he did, serves as an active member of the Global Agenda Council of the World Economic Forum and is a frequent contributor to the Brookings Institute, the Carnegie Endowment, I bet he's at the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace, and Chatham House. In 2006, Sariol Halam was also a documented attendee of the Bilderberg meeting in Ottawa, Canada. Sariol Halam's, I'm just going to say Mr. S from now on, academic work, most notably his seminal text, Rationality and Iran's National Development and Iran and Globalization, argued that the survival of the Iranian state is contingent upon ceding ideological rigidities in favor of economic privatization, trade liberalization, and integration into the global technocratic order. Mr. S functioned as the intellectual architect of the Rouhani presidency, articulating a, quote, global sensitive domestic and foreign policy designed to transition the Iranian economy away from isolated state control toward a model synchronized with international capital flows. This is globalization. This is integration into the multipolar world order and the Eurasian trading bloc, the Eurasian Economic Union, which they were all joining. That's what this is about. This intellectual pipeline demonstrates how the cabinet penetration model operates, utilizing highly credentialed, Western-educated technocrats to shape the policy of supposedly hostile states to conform to the requirements of the globalist administrative state. The cabinet penetration model, thank you, Klaus, openly discussed in globalist forums like the World Economic Forum, asserts that national governments do not operate as isolated sovereign entities. Instead, their ministries, regulated bodies, and resource monopolies are staffed by individuals who share educational, institutional, or corporate roots with the global financial elite. This alignment ensures that despite outward ideological posturings, the underlying physical and financial assets of sovereign states remain accessible to international markets. And this is what is being fought now. I'm not going to read another dime. I have linked, the PDF is uploaded to both Patreon and Substack, and you can read the whole thing. We're still going to talk about this stuff, but you see the international markets. But this was the Eurasian Economic Union multipolar world order. That is what the nationalist Trump administration is smashing as we speak at the Straits of Hormuz. The oil and gas is destined for the markets of Europe and Asia. And that's what the war is about. Removing the globalist asset Iran with all their filth and their corruption. All of them, the IRGC, they're not radical Islamic terrorists. Most of them have got all their accounts. Their kids are at private schools, for crying out loud. They all know this. This is the same as Hamas being housed in five-star hotels right near in Qatar. right near the biggest UK-US base in the Middle East. And you begin to understand this process. And so here is the Ayatollah talking about the multipolar world order.
علائم زیادی وجود داره که نظم کنونی جهان داره تغییر پیدا میکنه. اولش عبارت است از انزوای آمریکا. در نظم جدید جهانی آمریکا منزوی خواهد بود. برخلاف اونی که 20 سال پیش بوش پدر گفت امروز تنها قدرت مسلط دنیا آمریکاست. خط اساسی دوم انتقال قدرت سیاسی و اقتصادی و فرهنگی و علمی حتی از غرب به آسیا. آسیا خواهد شد مرکز دانش، مرکز اقتصاد، مرکز قدرت سیاسی، مرکز قدرت نظامی.
Here is Klaus Schwab talking about the multipolar world order.
Excellencies, distinguished participants of this very important meeting. Of course, is the transition into a multipolar world which has a tendency to make our world much more fragmented.
Here is Vladimir Putin talking about the multipolar world order.
Обе страны проводят независимую и самостоятельную внешнюю политику. Мы солидарно работаем над формированием более справедливого и демократического многополярного мироустройства, которое должно опираться на центральную роль Организации Объединенных Наций.
That is for the Eurasian Economic Union, and there is the map you see there. Ursula, Bibi, the cyber power, they would run the world island. The Makinda world island, the battle for Eurasia. Who controls the world island? Controls the world. And that is the battle going on as we speak. Right now, that is the battle on the Straits of Hormuz. And the Iranians are already in the bag and they're extending this out. Who now controls the Straits of Hormuz? The United States controls the Straits of Hormuz. And it will use those straits as the leveraging and the bargaining and the leverage point with that City of London European Union elite and their proxies, Putin, and their proxy, good old Xi Jinping. Putin can shake a fist at the EU all day. All his oligarchs have their kids in private schools. All their bank accounts are in London, Swiss, Paris, and Frankfurt, Germany. Just stop the garbage. All of them. And they're fighting and they're squabbling and they're upset because this is ground zero. The dust has not settled from this complete destruction of this multipolar world. The European economy will probably completely collapse. Completely collapse. We'll wait and see that one out. I don't think the US wants that, but they're prepared to push them all the way. Why can't they just get in there and use US power? Because why? Bibi will tell us.
And cyber is a real domain of power.
It's that, but it's also they just have so much dirt on each other. So they leverage. And that's what Tucker and Candace have been employed for. That's what they're employed for. Candace is off to the Vatican. She's off to see Russia. All these strong links in with Rothschild. Just gives you a little boo the Jews, boo the Jews, boo the Jews. Runs you around in circles. Meanwhile, Mary Silver is in front of Republican top-level committee people telling them, I'm going to expose 9/11, and they go, but they have nukes. Didn't call her mad. Didn't call her an anti-Semite. That's the narrative. Now, but the Israelis have nukes. They have to admit, everybody knows that Israel did 9/11. Only retarded syphilitic monkeys believe 19 Arab hijackers did 9/11. The top Republicans know Israel did 9/11, so they have the narrative, they have nukes. That's their silly trust the plan garbage. And that's what we're facing right now in the Straits of Hormuz. This is an excellent little article. It's an excellent little article. It goes into a lot of detail, where they all went to school, where all their bank accounts. They all know where their stuff is. They all know. You don't think the NSA knows where every single shekel of these people's is? So this is the application of US power we're seeing right now. In conclusion, please understand Spycatcher, head of MI5 counterintelligence. The Spycatcher, Peter Wright, saying that he was the 2IC in charge of catching spies. half of the British establishment were literally Soviet assets. But what they really are City of London assets. I want you to understand that. You see all these globalist assets. You see the big fight at Davos that went on. You see under Klaus Schwab, World Economic Forum, Rothschild, and that whole banking EU entity releasing the virus. Fauci is not a pan-American nationalist. He doesn't work for America. He works for the City of London. That's who the virus, the parasite is actually dangerous and within the United States. That's why there need to be roundups and McCarthy-type hearings. And maybe these people will, run as fast as their little rat legs will take them to the airport, and they can all go to their natural home, Highgate, London, where they can move in next to Arnold Milchan. They can move in next to, Ari Emanuel. That's where they're all going to end up. Their natural home isn't even Israel. These people are internationalist Trotskyites in Armani suits. And we cannot understand these things until we understand that big picture and the fact that so many are lying to you and all they do is sell coffee mugs and T-shirts. That's it. That's their role in life. That's their final solution to grave economic and even viral problems like genetically modified viruses. Let's sit and sell coffee mugs and wine all day online. You can't see that trillionaire bankers don't leave anything to chance. You don't see that a Department of Defense with $1 trillion budget isn't running psychological warfare programs, containment policies, computer network operations, as Berge will tell us, Shadowgate. Despite all this information, so many people are sitting with their thumbs up their bums, still confused. Ladies and gentlemen, there's so much to talk about. There's just so much. Horofes, Jumpalegi, Jumpananti. Everything's going to be fine, except in the usual places. Talk soon.
Brendon, great video. You made my foreign policy look good while maintaining your personal hatred for me and my continual corrupt antics. Now look, while fixing the country, I plan on making a mint for me and my friends. Is that so bad, my internet amigo?
Mr. President, all I have to say is, don't forget to like and subscribe very strongly.
What is our common bond truly? Freedom. Freedom. Without freedom, you can't be a Christian no matter what denomination you belong to. You can't be a Buddhist. You can't own a donut shop. You can't drive from here to Oregon. You can't be an American because that's what it's all about, and that's the only thing that it's all about, nothing else. Nothing else. It's about freedom. Only freedom.